Okay, so I, like Diane, started my career as a family therapist and had opened an office and thought, if you build it, they will come, and they didn't come. And I realized I needed to do a little marketing and selling and talking and blinging to make things happen so that people know who you are and where you are and that sort of thing. And so I started doing some research on, social media and how do you make this work? What buttons do you push? What do you look like? Girl, you are beautiful online. Oh my gosh, you are beautiful. And so you're watching different people, and thinking, I want to do it that way. This works for them. What works, what doesn't work. Microphone?
Yes, thank you.
So they didn't come, and I started learning how to market and thought, this is the coolest stuff since Brett, I really love this. Why didn't I get a degree in this, And we started doing lunch and learns and having people come to the counseling office, and we started an organization called the Helping Professionals Alliance, men and women, and we brought in guest speakers. Hello, aren't we all doing this, right? We brought in guest speakers to help us take it to the next level. It was so much fun. Started getting to know people. I had counselors with me all the time from the day I opened the office, but we didn't know what we were doing as far as running a business, really. I mean, no one in counseling classes teaches you one iota of what to do to have a successful practice. So then I thought, I'm teaching all of these people what to do, and I still have a lot of learning to do myself. Who's going to teach me? And somehow, we don't know how. Do you even know how you found things online? I don't know. I don't even know what I typed in, because I doubt if it was Christian women entrepreneurs. I'd never probably used the word entrepreneur before. And I found Diane. And at that time, we do all of our webinars on Tuesdays for free to anyone who wants to come in and listen. At that time, she did some of them for free and some of them for members only. And I stumbled upon a webinar and watched the webinar, and my mouth was hanging open. I thought, this is good stuff. I need this. First of all, I needed the encouragement, the sanguine personality, which is totally opposite of me. And I needed the enthusiasm that she brought to everything. And so I got Grace, who was in my office, to watch. The next month, we had to wait a month, and I said to Grace, you have to watch one of these videos with me. Grace watched the video. She said, this is good stuff. The next month, I had Marietta in our office watch one of the videos with me, and she said, this is good stuff. So on one of those videos, Diane gave away, speaking of giving things away, right, kitchen sink and all, she gave away a little program, I don't even know what the name of it was, and it was 90 days for $90, and you were going to get an email every day for 90 days on how to grow your business. And I thought, that is the cat's meow. I want that. And I put my name in the virtual hat and was chosen and won that prize, and soaked it up like a sponge. And on day 21, I found her on Facebook and private messaged her and said, how do I have a voice-to-voice conversation with you? We had a voice-to-voice conversation, and I said, I need more. I need so much more than this. Fred and I had her come to McKinney. She sat in the counseling office with us. He asked her 1,000 questions. I wanted to crawl under the table. All about her life, all about what she did. He asked her, how much did you pay for coaching last year? And she told him, and I thought, oh, it's all over but the crying now. When that woman leaves, Fred's going to say, don't even talk to her anymore. And then he asked her, how much do you charge for counseling? And she gave us a fee for the year, and I thought I was going to crawl under the table on that one too. And she left, and Fred said, do not pass go, do not collect $200, hire that woman right now. That was the beginning of me finding out about who Diane was and what NACWE was all about. I jumped into NACWE to the deep end of the pool with no life jacket. I didn't care. I just started doing. If Diane said you need to call Mexico, and I was just calling Mexico, doing whatever she said to do. I figured if I'm going to pay her that much money, I really need to do what she tells me to do. So, and things just grew by leaps and bounds. Our counseling practice just transformed, changed. I think I transformed and changed from a shy, I'm still an introvert, I always will be, but I feel like I just really blossomed and grew. And then became a part of NACWE. and said to her, I think we should take the educational piece a little deeper. Of course I would think so, right? That's where I live. And she said, well, I have other things to do, knock yourself out. So we began to work on taking education and the webinars a little deeper and doing some different things. And we began to travel together, travel buddies in the room. And if you haven't traveled with Diane, it's worth buying a coaching package for her just for the travel and the fun. And so we began to travel together. And on one of these, I don't know what you called it even, but working retreats, she said to the small, intimate group of people, there were about 5 of us. We had some people on video, Skyped in or whatever at that time. And she said, I think I'm done. I think I'm moving on to some new things, and I think I'm going to sell NACWE. And everybody there was like, yeah, we can see that. It's time, no shock there. And I was freaking out, which is not a typical reaction from me. This is about as excited as I get in real life. I just freaked out. And I'm going to tell on myself, I essentially said, I don't think this is appropriate. I don't think we need to be talking about that this weekend. I purchased a coaching program. Part of it was the trip, and this is all about me, and it's really not all about you. I mean, you do not need to be doing this. And they're all looking at me like, oh my word, she has flipped out. And they kept, so I was like, I don't think we need to talk about this here. And they kept talking about it. And an hour later, I'd be like, you're still talking about this? And an hour later, you're still talking about this? I'm going to leave. So I went down to the clubhouse, I went down to the pool, I went for walks, I came back and they're all still talking about it. And everybody finally goes to bed, and in the middle of the night, I would wake up every 5 minutes and write something on the bedside table. And it was all, you know what you could do? You could do this, you could do that. You know what NACWE could do next? They could do this, they could do that. The next morning, I get up and I go to Diane's bedroom, and Diana is in there, and I sat on the bed and said, you know what you could do? You could do this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. And they were like, you don't get it. It's you. You're the one who's supposed to do this. And so I said, no, these are just my ideas, they're free. This is what you need to do, but it's not me. And went home, and a couple of weeks later, Fred said, you realize it's all you talk about. I mean, it's been all you've talked about for 5 years. This is what you really need to do. And so we talked about it. It was one of the most, I know it was hard. I mean, we shed tears, we laughed, we cried, we sang, we danced, we did a lot of really weird things. But it had to have been, Diane, don't you think, one of the most blessed transitions on the planet. Did we agree on everything? No. But did we come up with an agreement, signed, sealed, delivered, lawyer, checked, check in the mail, this sort of thing, agreement, properly done? Yes, we did. And really, friends for life.
Yes.
We pricked our fingers and rubbed blood on something, I'm sure. I can call on her at any time. And so now our new thing is to go to, and she, to have birthed this thing and been able to step away. I can't imagine how hard that was. To been able to step away from it and let me have it and let me run and be free and do what I need to do. I've never felt like I needed to double check with her or have her permission. It was just signed, sealed, and delivered. It's been a blessing from that day forward every day, and I appreciate it, Diane, so much. And it's just an example of how God takes you to new places you never thought you would have, years ago we would have never thought we would have been here. So then in the beginning of this year, Teresa Sinicola calls, and she said, I'm the founder of, which we knew who each other was, but she said, I'm the founder of the International Christian Mompreneur Network, and I'm moving on to some new things. So now she's the COO or whatever of Red Orange Studios, and they're a marketing firm, right? Big, highfalutin stuff, beyond what I could comprehend or do. And she said, I know, I've watched Diane, I've watched you, I've watched NACWE. My group is very similar to yours. I can't think of anybody else who will take care of my people the way that you will take care of my people. Will you take care of my people? Transition after I almost should be a transition coach instead of celebration coach. Transition after transition was just a smooth transition, very beautifully done, professionally done, lawyer checked, signed, sealed, and delivered. And we haven't had negative feedback from anyone. So just, let the Lord take you where you need to go. Be prepared for someone to call you on the phone and say, will you take care of thousands of people for me? I trust you. We've never even met face to face. We've done some things together online, but to me, it is a blessing. This is what makes my world go round, other than my little grandorables. This is what makes my world go round. We'll have to ask the Lord when I get to heaven why I finished a PhD at the same time that I stopped counseling and started coaching full time. So I do not see clients anymore, and that transition was smooth and easy, and it just seemed right. It felt right. The clients I have are state interns that are getting their license, and counseling offices, as Diane does, or helping professionals' offices, helping them get off their feet and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how it all evolved, and it's just been a great blessing. To every time one of you grows or does anything new, or Janie hands me a graphic, or Darcy hands me a graphic, or Callie, the magazine is all Callie. If I didn't send her something within a particular deadline, she just filled in the blanks, and it's me. She knows how to know who you are, and so speaking of knowing who you are, I'll just plug Courtney as well. In 2012, the fall of 2012, Diane said, you need a virtual assistant. You need help, you need someone to help you, and I think it's Courtney. And Courtney lives in Israel, and so reach out and see if you can find her online and touch base with her, and I did. And Courtney gets up in the middle of the night and calls me on the phone and talks to me for, I don't know, an hour maybe, and basically said, I will work for you, but you need to give me 2 weeks to watch you online and figure you out and kind of get to know you. So she researched me for 2 weeks, began to work for me, and still works with me, is my right arm and my left leg practically. And really in all of these 7 years, this fall, there have been maybe 2 or 3 times that I've said, oh, I don't, something you posted online, I don't think I would have ever said that. It really isn't me. She knows me. If you talk to Courtney and you ask her a question about me, you're going to get a pretty straight answer. So, Courtney, I appreciate everything that you've done, really. So, I could say something about everybody here. So let's do this. Let's do a little bit of give a little instruction. Hello. Before we go deeper. Annette, thank you. Annette said, last year I took notes in my conference magazine. I took notes in the little journal book that you handed out, and I brought my own journal books because she's a journal book queen. And I took notes in my own journal book, and I got home and I tried to put it all together, and it just didn't flow very well. And would you just encourage everyone to take notes in one place, and probably that's the conference magazine, and to even say we're on. So Kathy's going to kind of guide you through this weekend and say, we're on page such and such in the magazine. I panicked this morning because it's kind of slick, and I couldn't get my pen to work, but once I got it going, it went. And so the encouragement is, please take notes. Do it your way, whatever you're going to do. But Annette's suggestion was, please take notes in your conference magazine so that you get home and it all fits together and that sort of thing.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
So also, if you have to use paper, like if you run out of notes, put what page in the conference magazine we're on in your other notes, because then that way you'll have a cross-reference and you can make a scrapbook later. I write a lot of notes, so I will end up writing down.
This is going to irritate me. I hope it doesn't irritate you. Last night when we did our dinner, thank you guys so much for being there, it was great, and we talked about marketing. We talked about the fact that you market externally to people that you want to know what you have to offer to see if it's a good fit and to get them to buy from you. Diane's very upfront about that this morning. You market internally to people who are already your clients and you want them to buy your next book, or you want them to come to your next conference or whatever. And you market internally to your team and to your family. This was kind of a new concept for me. And I said to Fred and Jeff, Fred and our son Jeff, who live in the home with me, I don't tell you what I do enough for you to really actually know. Could you tell someone else what I do? I don't talk about it enough. Let's start talking about what we do with one another when we're sitting at dinner, when we're sitting and playing. We're a big game playing family. When we're playing games, I need to be telling you what's happening, so that it's not a big surprise. And there's miracle after miracle every day. The Lord does something with all of us together, and it's, like I said, what makes my world go round. Then you should be marketing to you. And this was a new concept for me, and I think it's a game changer for me. And what in the John Maxwell team training, they have a program called Market Smart, and these two blonde girls with big red bows in their hair, and they're just adorable, and all cheerleader pom-poms all flying everywhere, really enthusiastic, and they always say, be sure to market, but remember to market smart. So the program is called Market Smart. And they said, do you market to you? And I thought, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And once they got to talking, I thought, I'm the client, Diane's client, who's rolling my eyes when she's telling me to do this. I'm thinking, this is crazy, this is cheesy, this is kind of weird. But Diane, all of your coaches should be telling you to market to you, to write down things that encourage you. So if you looked at my desk right now, there's one sticky note, only one. There should be dozens. There's one sticky note, and it's from Tasha. It's a quote from Tasha Glover, one of the Kingdom-Driven Entrepreneur mentors, and it says, invite God into every task and process before you begin. Not rocket science. As believers, we know that we're supposed to be doing that, but I don't do that. I have intentions of doing that, and then I come in and I sit down and I open up email first instead of my Bible first, and before I bow my head, I have to make my coffee and all of these things, and I need that reminder that if I do invite God in, He will show up. He shows up every time, and there's been testimony after testimony of how He's done that leading up to this conference and leading up to the conference for next year as well. If you don't market to yourself, you have ants in your brain. Anybody know what ants in your brain is? Yeah.
Automatic negative thoughts.
Automatic negative thoughts. And Addie's going to walk in here. I actually learned about this from her husband, who's a physician, a hospitalist, and I said, I don't know what you're talking about, and this is what he said, and I'll give you we do this. We are women, let's admit it, we do this, and we've got to stop doing this. We let a discouragement take us on this downward, weird spiral until you get to this strange place you don't even know how to you don't even know how to dig your way out of that pit anymore. And I'll give you an example. About a week, maybe a week and a half ago, I was fiddling around on Facebook, preparing for the conference, and at least more than 50% of what we do is done online these days. And Facebook, I tried to like something on my own page, and Facebook said, there has been some suspicious activity on your, and you're blocked from using your Facebook until Tuesday afternoon at 4:54 p.m. Well, we do our Tuesday afternoon webinars at 2 p.m., and I'm thinking, what? This is crazy. And my first reaction was, what? This is crazy. You gotta be kidding me. This is totally a mistake. And I kept fiddling with it, and it kept blocking me from doing things and shutting me down and making me re-enter my password, which I can hardly ever remember. I had to call somebody to ask them what it is. And the next thing I thought was, this is really inconvenient, right? But I've got other things to do. I can get the black bags ready. I can pack the bins that we need. There are other things I can do to get ready. I'll go off and do other things, and I'll come back and it'll be miraculously fixed. And of course it wasn't. And the next thing I knew, I thought, oh, my life is over as we know it, because we work online, and now Facebook is blocking me. And I had a friend who was totally, fraud, had an identity theft issue, and for a year and a half she was blocked from some of her accounts and things. And I thought, well, that's it. My life is going down the toilet. We're going to have to shut NACWE down. I think I'll shut it down before they shut me down. So at least I can say I did it myself and they didn't do it to me. I don't even want to do NACWE anymore. I don't want to do a conference anymore. I wonder how we can cancel the conference. You wake up and you think, lost your ever-loving. How did you get from, oh, this is really inconvenient, to, I'm going to eat worms, it's time to die. We're done with all that. So let's admit it. You do it too. And that's when you need those affirmations. So my encouragement to you this weekend, and we'll get straight into the ticket here, is to deny those ants in your brain and write down in your magazine or in your journal affirmation after affirmation after affirmation after affirmation and encouragements to yourself so that you have something you can flip through. If you go to Diane's house, or if you go to Diane's office or my house, they're everywhere. My house, not as much as hers, but it's colorful, and everywhere you look, there's an encouraging word. The way you choose today, we're going to hope you go home with dozens and dozens of affirmations. Highlight them, write them in your journal. A good way to do that, perhaps, is the breath prayer method, and some of you know what that is, and I'm just going to give you the short version of it. In the breath prayer, when you breathe in, you utter a name of the Lord. So when I'm just crazy this way, instead of waiting for the end of the instruction from Cindy Berger, who Kim Stedman introduced us to, I just did it while she talked it. I did it instead of waiting for the full instruction. So as she said, breathe in and breathe in the name of the Lord. I breathed in, Lord, you are the one who orders our steps. And then when you breathe out, she said, you say, I want, and you fill in the blank. And I froze, right? Because it's very easy for me to say, grew up very conservative, still very conservative. It's very easy for me to say, Lord, give us peace. You know, help my husband. He's at the Baylor Hospital this morning with some sort of weirdo thing going on, y'all. We posted asking for prayers for him. You know, help with this, help with that. You know, protect my husband, take care of my family. But for me to say, Lord, I want, seems like a little bit of a gutsy, in your face kind of move. And I thought, you know, Cindy said do it, and I'm going to do it. And so, Lord, you are the one who orders our steps. I want this conference to be ordered every step by you. No matter what happens, no matter how it turns out, I want it to leave the place knowing, and everyone who was there, knowing that you ordered our steps that weekend. Lord, please help. That's what I want. I want the bags to come in because they weren't coming in, realizing, you know, that if you didn't have a bag in your hand, you wouldn't unfriend me and block me from Facebook. It seemed like you might. So, you know, take some moments to write, and we're going to stop every now and then throughout the day and ask you, what was your takeaway from what she just said? What did you write down? What was your breath prayer? Will you share it with us? You don't have to if you don't want to, but we want you to go home with encouragement after encouragement after encouragement this weekend. So I will ask you to go ahead, praise the Lord, and save the date, September 17th through 20th next year here in McKinney. We're either going to be upstairs in the bigger room or across where we were last night at the Augusta room of the local yokel barbecue place. They're building an event center, and they're friends of ours, and said, we'll make you a deal, and it looks like it's going to be really beautiful. So our keynote speaker is going to be Shay Bynes. If you don't know her, you need to look her up online. She is the founder of Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur, and has been a real blessing in my life and in the life of NACWE and NACWE members. Talk about doing business God's way. So that's what we'll talk about next year, is working God's way. I use the same Bible all the time, and so I'm not very adventurous, and she encouraged us to look at Matthew 11:28 through 30, which we should read in the ESV, because that's where I camp out. Let's do that. If it'll recognize my fingerprint. We probably have it memorized. So in a version that you're much more familiar with, it is, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And she said, read it in the Message. Are you tired? And I thought, whoa, it really hits home. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. I don't know about you guys, but I'm an introvert, but there's a type A thing going on within, and I struggle to be still and struggle to be quiet and at rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I mean, I really didn't know I could run a business or ministry without feeling forced and in a rhythmic way and full of grace. This has been a new journey for me. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. I'm realizing that anything heavy or ill-fitting isn't from Him, and it's time to take a step back and regroup and shift gears and go in a different direction. That's been a freeing thing for me. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Please put that on your calendar. If you can join us, we want you to join us. If you can't, we want you to pray for us. I'm looking so forward to hearing from her, and I know that you will too. She is amazing. Life is different. We do a weekly mastermind, and here's where you can find that. If you go to NACWE.org/join, there's a Making It Happen button on there where we do a mastermind. We meet weekly. You meet with me once a month alone if you want to, and we call it Making It Happen because we're making it happen. Our claim to fame is let's share screen right now and push the button and take this where you need it to go, instead of saying now leave this place and go do it on your own. We do it together. So if you're ready to get clients now, we're going to start another. We do a Get Clients Now program. It's right now through the end of the year, $149, and you're in for life. So meaning every time we decide to do another Get Clients Now push and program, you're ready to go. You can do it on your own, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't done it on my own very successfully. I've done it better in a group when I had accountability partners and people to kind of walk through the steps with. But what you have in the first week is a marketing plan on a piece of paper, a 28-day marketing plan on a piece of paper. It's guaranteed to work. It works every time. So we hope you'll join us for that as well. And then I coach like Diane does individually. Fiverr. A girl on Fiverr did these little graphics for me. Is that the cutest?
Yes.
Illustrations for me. So I want you to introduce yourself. So let's do that. And I don't care how you do it per se. I will encourage you and tell you that I love for you to tell me why you do what you do before you tell me what you do. Did I do that? Touch it, I promise. I don't have a thing for introductions. Sorry.
No, you don't there.
You have to push it twice. We'll do a month on efficiency next year. So tell us why you do what you do. You can tell us what you do, but I want you to answer this question. And if you're writing your affirmations in your notebook, this is one of the first ones. Anything you wrote down from Diane, I wrote all the N's down and said, don't do this. This is one of the first ones. What's the most empowering thing anyone has ever said to you? Think about that for a minute. Grab hold of the first thing that flipped through your heart and through your mind, and take a minute and write it down, and you're going to share it with us this morning if you can.
Would you say that again, please?
What's the most empowering thing anyone has ever said to you? And I'll give you an example. My first husband, I'm widowed and remarried, blessedly, and my first husband and I met. My mother introduced us, and we both felt called to be foreign missionaries. Him probably to Guatemala, where he had grown up as a missionary kid, and I had no idea. I figured I would go. I spoke French, and I figured I'd go to a French-speaking country and do medical missions because I have a degree in medical technology and biology, my other life. And so we felt we were very well suited, and of course we were. It was a blessed time in my life. I'm very grateful for my marriage to Tim. And when he asked my father for my hand in marriage, my father said yes, but he sat me down and he said, "Sis, I don't think that you are physically strong enough to do the work of a missionary in a foreign country." And I thought, wow. And luckily the Lord gave me the words to say. I said, you know what, Daddy, I figure if this is what God called me to do, He'll just have to give me the strength to do whatever we need to do. But so I really grew up in a family that wasn't demonstrative or encouraging. if you brought home a B, there wasn't punishment or anything, but it was, what do you need to do to make this an A? There was always this encouragement that things should be better. I was never abused, ever in my life, really. Never hit, never screamed at, never really talked down to. I've lived a very cushioned life from abuse, never really experienced that, but didn't experience you gotta, at a girl, go, you can do this, at all, until way later, after Tim's death and remarriage and blending a family together, someone came to me and said to me, your father said to me, Karen has more strength, physical, emotional, spiritual strength than anyone I've ever known before. Now, I wish I'd heard those words from him when he lived in our home and died in our home and that sort of thing, and I didn't hear that. But I was grateful to hear it from someone else, and so that's one of the ones that I wrote down. I am strong. Even when I feel weak, I usually pull myself up by my bootstraps and take the next step and make it to the next place. I mean, the answer's there, I admit it. Poisoning me, but I'm strong. You are strong. And we're going to talk about that this morning. Are you ready? Did you write something down? So tell us who you are, where you're from. We have people from across the country. Tell us why you do what you do. If you forget something, we'll help you. And tell us what that most empowering thing someone ever said to you was. Are we going to need this, or are you going to go around the room?
I'll go.
Go around. Okay.
Where are you starting?
Anybody? Stand up so Kelly knows who you are and what you're. Ooh.
Okay, I'll go first. Nobody else wants to. I'm Courtney. I was supposed to say the most empowering thing?
Where are you from? Why do you do what you do?
I'm from Florida, and really the thing that moves me the most and why I do what I do is to see women set free and healed and living that abundant life that Christ has called us to. The most empowering thing someone ever said to me, in grad school, I had a professor, and I gave him my personal theory on schizophrenia, and as I walked out of the room, he said, "You are really brilliant."
Oh.
And it was so sincere. I was the only one in the room, no one else heard this, and he was someone I still look up to, and just, he was a great teacher, and that was probably the most empowering thing anyone's ever said to me. That's it.
You are brilliant.
Thank you.
are. That's true. She is. Okay, I'll go. So my most empowering thing, I've had a couple. I've been very fortunate, but I think the one that resonates the most is my mom, because my mom said and told us when we were little how smart we were and how attractive we were, and you can do anything you set your mind to do. And I believed her. A lot of people hear that from people they don't respect or whatever, but I believed her, and she still tells me that. She's like, I knew you could do that. And I'm like, I got an A. She's like, I knew you could do that. But then one of my dear friends and lost actually, she said, "You're wonderful in every way, even when you're crying like a crazy person." She's like, "I love you so much, and I don't know what I would do without you." So that's a affirmation, a good thing to give you confidence. But I'm Kathy Gifford, and I'm from Birmingham, Alabama originally. Grew up in Guatemala, and now I live in Huntsville, Alabama. I lived in Texas for a while, and so I'm really glad to be here, and I'm really, really glad to be your MC. So
Thank you.
thank you. Who's next?
So, hi, I'm Janet Bernstein, and a few months ago I got a call from a woman that I was Facebook friends with, but I had never met her in person, and she called me and said, I want to meet with you for lunch, and I said, okay, and I'm I'm kind of a negative person sometimes initially, so I really thought I was gonna be sold like an MLM product. So I had like braced myself for that conversation. But when I showed up and met with her, she actually told me that that I had saved her life. And she said that she had left work, and that she had been let go, and she drove to a bridge, and that she sat there in her car, and that she debated jumping, and that she got on Facebook, and that she saw a video that I did, and saw something I posted where I said you matter, and that your story's not over yet, and I had posted a sticker that's on my laptop that says the same thing, because I lost 2 friends to suicide this year. And she said that when she saw that, she said that she had just prayed for a sign, and that was her sign. And so that's why I do what I do. I was in the middle of production on my book, and I stopped production on it and made sure I went back in and added something about the mental illness, stigma, and suicide. And it's become a part of my platform, and it's far more important than the business piece. But so my affirmation is that I'm inspired, that I'm in the right place.
Oh, wow.
Jill. Hi, I'm Danica Diva, and I'm Hope Coach. And the reason I do what I do is because there's a lot of hopeless people out there who need help with everything from just their outlook and family and what do I do with this child who's struggling in school, etc. And mine is kind of like Karen's, that I have an adopted dad that lives in Japan, and he came back to America, and we were doing lesson plans for his school because he's delayed because he's sick. And my father one time had only heard me sing, and he said, I thought you'd be better than that. You know, you just replay those things. Yeah. And my adopted dad said, I just love hearing you sing. I was just like humming to whatever we were listening to while we were cranking out lesson plans, to send to Japan. And I was just like, you haven't even heard me sing for like, I think maybe 20 years. Like, he's heard my maybe video or something. But it was just like, wow. And it's just how a thought or something someone says can negate something else, right? And it's like, oh wow. And I said, that just really meant a lot to me. It empowered me not to sing. It empowered me that someone can believe in me. That you don't even know is like believing in that area in you, like that. And so it's kind of similar to that story. So just reminded me, even as you were sharing, we need to negate thoughts and phrases that people said. Instead of that replay button, we need to give a new recording, So yeah.
Did you say you were from Virginia?
From Virginia.
Okay, I'll go.
I got to stand up here by Karen to do this.
Oh.
I'm Jan Elliott from Pittsburgh, and I am a certified retirement coach for women, and there is such a thing. Also a champion for women, a champion for Christian women. And I wrote a book because I failed retirement. I mean, I really failed it. I flunked it. And I was very resentful and very angry, and God really called me to write a book to help Christian women make that transition, because we see the shiny brochures of all the retirement couples dancing on the beaches of Florida, and it's not like that. And so there were some challenges. Well, then I kind of got off track a little bit. I went into some business coaching and some networking and so on, and then I met Karen. And she said, Jan, you need to get back to what your purpose is and what you're called to do. And I don't know. Well, long story short, the second book was birthed, and I didn't even know that she had a publishing company.
Oh, of course.
And so,
I paid her to say.
and so God, no, she did not. And so she really has led me and guided me to do that. And then I wrote about her book in my book, and so we're promoting them together. And next week is my conference for retirement coaches, and I'm just getting so energized here to go out and do more, because I know that it's something that's needed. And a lot of y'all aren't very wet yet, but you will be. So tomorrow when I do my old woman who lives in a shoe talk, you'll find out more.
Let me see if I can rock up out of this chair. My name is Minister Kelly Sawyer. You guys know that already. So, in December of 2015, one evening, I found myself in my room, sorry I have my back to you, in my room, in my prayer chair, in the dark, crying and telling the Lord, I'm done. I will not do not one other thing. I won't work with anybody else. Your children have disappointed me, so I'm done with everything. And not suicidal done, but just done. And God didn't say anything, he just listened, and I just kept going on, and I'm crying, and you know, it's dark, and you know, when it's dark and nobody's listening, we know how to bring on those tears. It's our own pity party. And God finally said, are you done? And I said, yeah, God, I just kind of told you I was done. And so he said, are you really done now with this pity party? And I said, okay, yeah. And he said, history is incomplete without your story. And I said, God, what are you talking about? I don't need, you know, history is incomplete without your story. I did not bring you to this world just to breathe, live and do a couple of things and then die. There is a purpose for you being here. And as you reach that purpose, you will also usher other people into their purpose. And so with that, I went on to create some different products and redo some things. And so that's why I do what I do. Because I understand that there are a lot of people who don't realize that history is incomplete without what they bring to the table. That there is something unique that God has for them to do. 7.1+ billion people on the planet, we're not going to touch all of them. But there's a remnant of those people that God has tuned their hearts to hear your voice. And so those are the people that we are out here for. And the most empowering thing that anyone has ever said to me, I grew up with parents that told me I can do whatever it is I want to do, and you can sing, and you can do this, and you can do that. But the most empowering thing someone told me was that I lied to my clients. Isn't that crazy? She asked me about one of my intensives, and as I gave her all of the details, all the things that people get in this writing intensive in one day, and all the things that, you know, they'll take away from it, she said, okay, how much does it cost? And I said $599. She said, really? You just lied to your clients. And I said, what do you mean? It was the most freeing thing ever in life, because what she said to me was, you're going in here and pouring out of everything that you have ever learned, everything that God has ever told you, everything you have always studied, and you think that it's only worth $599? So when you tell your clients that, they don't believe that they can get all of this for this little amount. So that's why they don't show up. That's why they don't sign up, because they think, surely I can't get in all of that. But they'll go and spend $2,000-$3,000 with somebody else, and they'll get not even a little bit of what I would give for mine. So it made me know that what I have has value, and if I don't see the value in it, no one else will either. So it made me, and she does an intensive for $12,000. So that was my empowering moment. Thank you so much. I'm a writer, publisher, author, speaker.
My next intensive is 12,000. Let me make sure I'm on track, because I'm never heard of timing it. As usual, we're not supposed to. Oh, we're good. We're doing good.
Sorry.
Yeah,
No, we're so good. Who does that?
You asked for God to order it.
There's never enough hours in my day, girl. So
I wish there was a camera on your face when I said
Yes,
I'm not to my client.
Let's do a few more, and then I want to take you to a place, and then we'll do a few more, and then we're gonna make Danica sing, because she said she sings. After this, like, yeah. She's gonna be back there going. Anybody else, and then we'll go. I'm gonna get started.
Okay. Where to stand? Where should I stand? My name is Annette Bridges, and I want to answer the question about came to me. And that's always fun. You know, you get these surprising answers, and I don't know why it's a surprise, but what came to me was 3 words: yes, you can. And I suddenly remembered where I first got that from. But first of all, I should say, I am like the only girl, the 4th child, 3 older brothers. I realized I never heard the word no, actually. My entire life, I never heard the word no. So this is what I'm fixing to say. Not really the first time about yes, you can, because I actually got that my whole life. But when I was in high school, I just, you start thinking about what you're doing when you grow up, what you want to do in your life, and whatever in college. But my mom did not have money to send me to college. And no one in my family had ever gone to college. In fact, no one had even finished high school. So, here I was graduating high school, and I saw, you're looking in the counselor's office and all these different brochures about college, and there was a thing about, can you afford to go to college? And then it said, yes, you can. And I just believed that. And it was never a matter of, like, will I be able to afford to go to college? How is there going to be a way? And I just told my mom, well, I'm going to go to college. And, my mom was very much a woman of faith, and of course she was like, of course you're going to college. And I think she just knew that God would find a way, and it truly was that. I'm not kidding you. I went to college, semester by semester, not knowing how I was going to afford to go. And there were so many amazing, amazing times and how that had worked out. But it just really occurred to me, though, that just made such an impression on me, that yes, you can, and everything that I've done in my life since then, I don't think I've ever questioned it. I've never doubted it. I mean, I remember going to Diane's first Heart Art retreat and, thinking about, oh, I'm going to host retreats. Could I host retreats? And of course I was like, sure, you can host a retreat. Yeah. I mean, and it was just like, but there was just never a doubt. And so I don't know, it's just amazing how powerful just to believe, yes, you can. And if it is the thing for you to do, God's going to help find that way. I mean, He is. I love that. I wrote that down. I'm not going to remember exact words, but to look at my notes again. But that, God puts the purpose in your heart, and what you're going to do. And if it's a yes, then it's going to be a yes. You can do it. It's going to work out. So those are my 3 words.
I appreciate that you said, you got this aha moment, you wrote it down, and you were surprised by it. And I'm constantly saying, when am I going to stop being surprised that God surprised me? I don't want Him to stop surprising me, but there's this, this gratefulness, but there's also this thing in me, like as if I can be surprised more. I get hung up on that, so I appreciate it. Yes, another kindred spirit. We already knew that about each other. Here's what I want to do. I have been on a spiritual quest that is the weirdest, most different for me journey. I think you started it. Thank you, Jessica, very much. You'll claim to fame is that you got me started on it. I just felt like, well, actually, so you look back at Shelley Hibbs, our Author Audience Academy, or now Christian Book Academy coach, and how she said, we're all workaholics, we're working 24/7, we don't stop, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how to be still, I don't know how to rest, I don't hear from the Lord because I'm just too busy. And I'll go to a Heart Art retreat, I'll go to a beach retreat, I'll go to a retreat, and someone always walks up to me and says, Karen, I came here so in angst, and you were just so calm. And it made me calm, and I'm like, thank you, but inside I'm thinking, do you know me? I'm the duck, just gliding along slowly on the tops of the water, but underneath, honey, my heart is racing, and my little feet are just paddling, and I'm worried about some turtle biting my toe, and I've got all these things going on, and it just hit me. When Shelley said she went away for I don't know how many weeks, it was a long time.
It was a long time.
She was offline, and her business still ran. Her people still were nourished. Her people were still fed. She was off media for the longest time, and so I said to Jessica, I think I need a week away from media, and she said, here's where you need to go. That started it. a trip to Oklahoma of all places with no phone for 6.5 days, intensely guided through the Word in various ways, through fasting. I never fasted a successful 24 hours in my life, and fasted, and the next morning said, I don't think God wants me to eat yet. And then went to Guatemala and came home in May and came home changed. And so I just want to share with you some things that have tugged at my heartstrings, and I'm hoping they will tug at yours as well. Like I said, no one's really put me down, but very few people have really built me up either. And so, and why are we not going to the Lord for that? And that's where I want you to go today. I get to be kind of first with the lessons for the day, and so here we go. We're in what page of our magazine? 14.
14 is
So,
the next page, and
I hope you will borrow affirmations from your neighbors too. She says what her why is, and you think, oh, love that word. What was the word we passed around this week? Plucky. I even have artwork in my house that Janie did for me that says plucky. I want to be plucky. I hope you'll consider this weekend some words that God uses to describe you as early as far back as Genesis. And we're going to talk about the fact that you are intimately His. You were created for a purpose. You are a first ruler. You are a completer. Ever thought of that? You are a revealer. You are a surrounder and protector. We mommies, we got that one down. We know. No one's touching my kids. We're in Texas, so pardon me, you guys, we were talking about guns. And I said, when I married Tim, I said, I have a few things. I don't want a TV in the bedroom. We never had a TV in the bedroom. And I don't want guns in the house. And Tim said, Karen, I'm a cop. We're in trouble now. There will be guns in the house, and you will need to know how to use them, clean them, hide them, find them, etc., etc. I thought, okay. And then he said, you will need to know that if you ever pick one up to defend yourself, I can't believe this is going to be on video, you shoot to kill. You don't shoot to harm, and you don't shoot to scare someone, because they take it away from you and they use it against you. If you pick it up, you use it. And I said, I will never be able to do that. I'm sorry, not going to happen. And then Matthew was born 42 hours later, and I looked at Tim and I said, yeah, if someone threatened my baby, I would be able to do that. We are surrounders and protectors. We've got that one down in fine art, but I think I'm going to take you to a different place with that one. You're a helper. I'm sorry, that helper suitable. I'm like, we're going to take that to a new place as well. Because in our culture, suitable means, it's pretty, it'll do. And that is not what God said about you at all. You are valuable. You are strong and wise. And Jessica, I should have asked you to go through this and tell me how to pronounce Hebrew words, but Isha. You are Isha. I'm going to give it a go. We shared what's the most empowering thing anyone has ever said to you. We've done that. That's your first affirmation. I hope you wrote down your why. I hope you wrote down that. And for every one of these words, I hope God gives you some insight. I'm going to actually try to do this without any notes. We'll see how well I do. Let's just start at the beginning with you are intimately His. And we think we're an afterthought. God created the world. There was this great order. Which came first? The lights, the earth, the water, the birds, the bees, all of those things. And then He created Adam. And then He created Eve. And we think, He says, there was not a helper suitable for him, right? He's alone. He needs somebody, as if we were an afterthought, and we were not. We were a forethought in God's heart before He even created anything. And this is how we know. In Genesis 1:26, He says, let us, make man. The word man there is translated in Hebrew male.
You've got mail.
Courtney's fired.
I thought she was going to sing now, I'm sorry.
Oh, we do want her to sing. Let us make man, that word is translated male and female, in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. And you notice all of these plurals there. The us, the our, the them, that God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit are already speaking life into us. man and woman. We were thought of before. You are a forethought. You are not an afterthought. You should be scribbling something down. You are a forethought. I love that. He said, let them have dominion, let them rule. A little later in Genesis 1:28, and God blessed them, male and female. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion or rule over all of it, over every living thing that moves on the earth. Our whole purpose is to rule and have dominion over God's beautiful creation. And he thought of that before he created creation. Is there some place, this is your notes, your more affirmations, is there some place, let's admit it, the ants are going, like even as I stand here, in your life, in your work that God has called you to do, where you've considered yourself and what he's called you to do an afterthought instead of a forethought? And if you flip that upside down, what difference is that going to make when you go back to write more right now? When you go back to getting your counseling license? When you go back to hope coaching? And when you go back to talking to people about retirement? And creating beautiful things for people? What difference is that going to make? Write something down. And then let's talk about these 5 words. He asks us to be fruitful, to multiply, to fill the earth, to subdue it, and to rule. So as we define these, I am going to have to use my notes. As we define these 5 words, I'm going to give you some synonyms of each of these words, and I want you to pick the ones that just really tug at your heart and knock your socks off. That they're like, this one is for me. Absolutely for me. To be fruitful, these are our 5 callings from the Lord. To be fruitful means to grow or to increase. The root of the word in Hebrew means to flourish or to thrive. And we're both, he's talking about both of us, men and women, to thrive in everything. To multiply is to increase, grow, and have more. Everything. There's a part of me that cringes at that. Like, I can't say to God, you know what I want? I want everything. More of everything. To fill the earth is to replenish it. The root means confirmed and consecrated. I found that to be really fascinating. Set aside as holy. And there's probably a whole lesson in that to fill the earth and to be consecrated are so intertwined with one another. To subdue it is to master it, to put it in order, to master things that cause death so that life can prevail. And it's the analogy is as the farmer turns the soil and the seed is buried, the seed has to dry up and die before it can come to life again. And that happens as we subdue something. It reminds me also of the put off and put on verses of Ephesians and Colossians. And in counseling, we are always, in coaching, we should be too, telling people when you stop smoking. Like Diane said, stop drinking. And you heard her give you a plethora of things she needed to fill that void with so that she did not go back to. And isn't it beautiful that every time God told you to put something off, he told you what to put on in its place? Or we would have felt this void and this vacuum and not functioned well. We would have gone back to what we were familiar with. Another counseling issue. To rule is to have dominion, to prevail. God from creation has been waiting for his sons and daughters to take our place. His plan hasn't changed. Write down your 5 words, and when you get home, post them somewhere. What were some of those words that you thought, this is mine, I'm taking this one with me? Anybody? We're used to the word thrive. It's kind of the buzzword of the day, and there's products out there called Thrive. I wrote that one down. I put thrive increase. I'm surprised I didn't write down grow. Replenish, master, prevail. Anybody?
Take the land.
Take it. He created us for intimacy and for a relationship. A little bit more before we go to that next part. There's a verse in Romans that says creation has been waiting for us to fall into the order that God intended. So God created us. Bios, I resonate with that with a biology and medical technology degree. He created and breathed life into us like biology, but he also created us, one of the Hebrew words is Zoe. That's where he put and breathed into you passion and purpose. In John 20, after the crucifixion, Christ walks into the room. They're all locked up and afraid, and he walks into the room, and what's the first thing he does for them is he breathes on them and brings life to them. Then he starts proving that he's really alive and, eating, and you can touch me, and now here's what I want you to do, go and preach and go and tell. But he wants intimacy and relationship with us every step of the way. You're a ruler. I don't know about you, I'm kind of a bossy girl, so that's easy for me because I can boss my family around and my kitty cats and my big dogs all day long, and I rule, and I expect my requests to be, fulfilled, and hopefully I'm not bossing you guys around every week, but the email, the text at 4 o'clock in the morning, but you were created to rule. In Genesis 2:15, then the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to tend it and to keep it. And to tend, the word is abad, something like that. To dress, to cultivate, to tend, you're a tender and a keeper. Your responsibility is to work, in some sense, to delight and pleasure in work. I mean, that's why I love NACWE and working with women like you every day of my week, because it is a delight and a pleasure. Well, how do I respond to God in my work when things aren't real delightful and pleasurable? Like Facebook says, there's suspicious activity on your account. We're to be productive. I get that, but I'm often productive about things that I should have never been productive about in the first place. And another reason why I would say, Lord, order my steps every day. Please reorder and reorder and reorder my steps. To tend means to be enslaved to, not to the work that he's called us to do, but to him. Idols of my heart. We could do a whole day on that one. And to worship in an intimate and very relational way. And then the word keep, to keep it, is shamar, to hedge with thorns, to build a wall of thorns, to guard as a barbed wire fence. We're good at that. We will surround our babies, and nothing is happening to our babies. What sort of hedging, this just came to me, what sort of hedging do I try to do when God is disciplining one of my babies? That's even harder, a lot harder. Yeah. Will I let him do that? While he's talking about tending this garden and she's not there, Eve is not there, she's there, right? She was the forethought, she was already considered, she was already created, she's there, but someone said, in a hidden, not revealed yet way. You are a completer. Let's see if we're going there. I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily feel like you guys complete me. I don't always feel like I'm a completer. It is not good for man to be alone. The Hebrew word here, alone, is bad. To be alone or apart from something, because you are a piece of that whole. So I think this is getting ready to take us to a place. For example, so the example given to me in one of the Bible studies I went to was like the branches of a tree. You see branches and you're looking at a tree. Or the staves of a barrel, you see the staves and you're looking at a barrel. He sees us and we complete the image of God. We're only a part of it, but we're a completer of it. Male and female are made in our image. Both are made in our image. How will you now, here's your chance to, how will you now tend or dress or cultivate or hedge. I pray often, Lord, build a hedge of protection around us, and I'm just now beginning to realize what that actually means. How will you, in this calling He has called you to, retirement readiness coach, graphic designers, how will you now tend and dress and cultivate it differently? Delight in Him, delight in your work, worship Him while you... I've always found these conferences to be very worshipful experiences. That's why it's important to me that you start us off that way. Very important. How will you build a hedge of protection around it? How will you ask God to do that? Differently now. Is there something you now feel called to do differently in your life or within your calling to carry this image of God? As someone asked me, well, my ministry is to believers and to non-believers, and I said, and you're still a mirror image of God in a non-believer's life, you know. His purpose for them is the same as His purpose for the believer. They're just not accepting His purpose for them. You still can carry the image of God in your work. Any ahas somebody wants to share from these?
I like this statement and sentiment about worshiping love. Yeah, that's never been a thought, and I wrote it down, and I'm gonna think about that some more and figure out how that's possible.
I'm remembering you in gardening too. That
Yes.
was probably a great resonation there. Master gardener to be. I want Amy to write a book about her life and how God has changed her and brought her to places based on tending that garden. This is a tender of gardens. You are a revealer. Out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called a living creature, that was its name. So God brought these creatures, He brought woman. She stood in front of Him, face to face, eye to eye, toe to toe, and asked Him to give them a position and a category in the world. God could have done that, and He could have said, Adam, this is a lion. He's pretty ferocious. This is a pear. You eat it. You know, He could have done that for him, but He let him do that. I thought that was awesome. You are a surrounder and a protector. The man gave names to all the cattle and to the birds of the sky and to every beast of the field, but for Adam there was not found a helper suitable for him. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. Then He took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at that place. Where is Melanie?
Napping. She's napping. She's
Okay.
up in our room.
Oh, thank you.
She's pregnant. She's pregnant now.
Yeah, she is. Bless her heart.
Bless her.
I'm sorry, I just got a little worried because she's our nurse, and I figured maybe she knew something about Fred that I don't know or whatever. Praying still. So, got scared. We surround God's creation and we protect each other. I don't know if we have time, but to talk about, Melanie's not anybody else in the medical profession in here? I don't think so. You think about we don't have a lot of time to do this, but you think about the purpose of your rib. I've always thought, well, He took this insignificant little bone, from Adam's rib cage and created woman, and I have a biology degree, but I didn't know a lot of these things. We were studying about the rib, and not only does it, hold you upright, it's what enables you to involuntarily breathe all night, in and out. There's this counter pressure breathing in and out. I remember when Tim died, someone asked me, what is this like for you? And I said, I can't breathe. And I wake up in the morning and I'm shocked that I breathed enough times to live through the night. I have a biology degree. I know it's an involuntary response, but there was just this awe that I made it. I made it through another day, with, speaking of retirement, retiring from that one was really probably more difficult than retiring from this one. With Fred's facing retirement right now, we're going through some really interesting things. Thank you for the book. You gave me some freedoms. I love the chapter that says he's home, 24/7? He's in the house. What am I supposed to do? Don't you have something to do? Can you go now? Can you know? She also said that, I didn't know this, regenerate. All of your bones regenerate, and they produce blood, and but ribs regenerate faster and better than any bones in your body, and they're used for bone grafts more than any other bone in your body. She also said, and I didn't go look it up, and I was going to ask Melanie for confirmation to sound skeptical, that a piece of rib broken off will grow back. I'm like a lizard's tail? Are you kidding me? And what if it grows too much or too far or a little crooked and punctures my lung? God is just amazing with these ribs. And so I just found that really fascinating, and another just beautiful picture of what God intended for you. You are made from a bone that is used in a most unique way and regenerates. I'm sorry, I need a little regenerating. A lot. I love that. In what way do you need to step into this God-given called role? Is there some repositioning that needs to be done here? Is there some recategorizing that needs to be done here? I mean, I will forever be changed thinking of myself as a forethought instead of an afterthought. I'm going to take that one with me for a long way. What in your business and ministry needs surrounding and protecting? I'm not good at saying no, but I'm getting there. I had to have a little help. And what would make this move from feeling suitable? I didn't talk about being suitable and all that. Where's that in my notes? Let's talk about that. In our culture, we think of suitable, okay, and so we think of that as, well, it's close to being good enough. It's acceptable, it's all we're going to get. We might as well grab hold of it and be glad for it because it's about as good as it's going to get. Suitable. We think it's adequate, and that's not what the Hebrew word, when you find suitable in the Bible, really means. It means, it's translated remarkable, as in, wow, beholding, valuable. And we're going to talk, that's why I have in my notes. We'll talk about more about that a little bit later. What would make this move from feeling suitable or adequate to feeling acceptable, remarkable, whatever? You're a helper. I want you to see, we're going to draw some pictures for you here as well. I want you to see this, so we're going to skim through pretty quickly. We've got not much time. And we want Danica to sing. Are you going to be able to sing? Yeah? You're a helper. You surround and protect. You give aid and relief. Again, like that rib. So the word is there. Pretty close. It's used when the Bible talks about the help of God. He uses the word is there. And when he talks about Eve, woman, no other place does he use this word to describe anyone but us. He uses the word is there, and it means strength and power to rescue and save. I'm not a savior, but to rescue and to save. I love this because my middle name, my Karen Sue Texacan, I am a natural born Texacan middle name is Sue, and you won't see that published anywhere because I dropped it as soon as I possibly could. Really? Yeah. As in Jamie Sue, girl.
Yes.
I gotta shed that one sometimes. But I love this because I'm gonna remember this now. It means we shield. This help is a matter of shielding versus exposing. I'm sorry. I have been an exposer in my gossip, my attitude. As a mouth or words to be used as a tool, not a weapon, to shield and come alongside, to unify versus divide. We are peacemakers, not just peacekeepers. Courtney talked about being peacemakers. We are peacekeepers, not just peacemakers. We are peacekeepers. Not only peacekeepers. And then we encourage versus discourage, and strengthen versus weaken. We are an agent of construction, not destruction. When will we ever learn? But that empowers me. I hope it empowers you too. The word suitable, here we go, and means meet. There's not a suitable, a help meet suitable for him. It means, this word meet is and connecto, I think, is before your face, in your view or purpose, corresponding to, in the sight or presence of, parallel to, separate but equal. That reminds me of a little help movie. In opposition, not in battle opposition, we're going to go to war against one another, but in opposition as in the two sides are necessary for this thing to even exist. The banks of a river. There are two sides ebbing and flowing in the banks of a river. Two sides of a coin, two sides of a piece of paper. Inseparable. You can't have one without the other. They're both equally important. You cannot separate them. The root, it was a social term. You cannot meet someone in that day. You could not meet someone who wasn't your equal. So you think of, I thought of Esther, the very first thing I thought of. And Mordecai says to her, all Jews are getting ready to be killed. Haman is evil. You are going to be killed too. You have to go to the king. And she says, I can't go to the king. I'm not allowed to approach him. And luckily she, what is that? In the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And she invites him to dinner. And the Jewish nation is saved there. But she knew her place, and she knew that she could not approach him because she wasn't equal. And we are. As a root, this means conspicuous, obvious, in your face. Now, I don't want to go to my husband and get in his face. It wouldn't work anyway. But I can approach him face to face. As a noun, it means prince or ruler. I thought of Deborah. So Deborah was the fourth judge, and she commanded Barak. And she said to him, take 10,000 men. I'm going to assume he had access to more than 10,000 if he needed them. She said, go, take 10,000 men, go. And he says, what? I'm not going without you. You have to come too. She commanded a man in charge. Now, I don't know if God calls me to command a man in charge of an army of 10,000 people. But do we not do that when we call down, like as you did, Kelly, and pray that Satan has no place here? Have we not just commanded an army of 10,000 to protect? Can you just imagine what's over this place, this anointed place at this time? You are that powerful. What he has called you to do is that powerful. You're anointed. Adam said, she is bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, Isha, because she was taken out of man, Ish. So I'm going to show you some pictures. And then we're going to let Vanika sing and pray and take breaks. Whatever's in your magazine. So before I show you these pictures, where do you need to use this strength or this power? Where do you need to shield in your life, in your relationships, in your business, in your ministry right now? Shield versus expose. Unify versus divide. Encourage versus discourage, or strengthen versus weaken. Where do you need to be a little more conspicuous or obvious or in your face or before their face? And what does it mean to be anointed as a Christian woman entrepreneur? Let's take a glance at this word Isha. So Jessica, you remember all this? Yeah. Jessica studies Hebrew. I should have had you do this. This is just a glimpse of the Hebrew alphabet, and it's read backwards. Well, we think it's read backwards, from right to left instead of from left to right. And just a picture of, and we were in homeschool for 17 years. We were taught this about the Chinese language too, that these languages were drawn to depict, to get you to see the visual picture of what they were trying to say. We were even told that the word, just as an example of God creating languages in unbelieving peoples before we ever even heard of their language. We were told that in Chinese, the word for righteous, the symbol looks like a lamb, and there's a line, a lamb, and then you, like I, and that I, under the Lamb of God, am righteous, right? Isn't that what Scripture tells us? So we used to go, I wish Melanie was here. We used to, as a homeschool family, you went out and people were like, why are you not in school? We went to a Chinese restaurant in McKinney here, China Sun. It's pretty all right. do you want Chinese food tonight or tomorrow night? And we went so often that they knew what we wanted to order before we even got there, and they made a big deal out of it, and they made a joke out of it, and they would have our order, coming at us before we even placed an order. And they teased two of our sons. We have 4 sons and 2 daughters, and they teased 2 of the sons, and they would bring them wonton soup and put all of the wontons from this guy's soup in that guy's soup, and the guys were like, they do that every time, and they didn't give me my wonton. And so we said to the woman, can you draw in Chinese the word for righteousness? And she did. And we said, does this really mean lamb? And does this really represent you, like a person, or me, or you? And does that really depict a lamb? And how do you understand that you could be righteous with a creature that says, lamby, gentle, lowly as the lamb? And she said, yeah, I don't know. And so we got to kind of share the gospel with them over and over. And we took them some other words too, like the word for flood. It looks like a boat, and it looks like there are 8 people in it. Who does that? Only the Lord does that. So let me show you what he's done with the word for woman, Isha, for you and for me. Should have started with this, but here we go. The word for man is, I don't know how to pronounce these, but then it starts with the letter Aleph, pretty close, Yod, and Shin. The Aleph looks like an ox head and it represents strength and leadership. The Yod is supposed to look like a strong arm and look like a strong arm, and again depicts strength. And the Shin is supposed to look like dagger-like sharp teeth and represent danger and vitality. Is that not? I hope that's the men in your life. I do. Okay, Fred's a man's man. He is strong. He is a great leader. He is vital. Always out there, taking care of our property, our peeps. So that's man. Here's woman. The same Aleph looks like an ox head and represents authority. The same Shin looks like teeth and represents vitality and passion. And we are passionate people. I mean, we take that too far sometimes, but we are passionate. I don't always, I try to, squelch it, and I need to stop doing it. And then, hey, looks like an open window, and it represents beholding, wisdom, insight, and perspective. Now, how many times, one of our NACWE members is a pastor's wife, and she once said to me, there were times when the church would be in turmoil over a huge decision that needed to be made, and the Lord would use her as a voice of wisdom to redirect. Let's get back on the same page. Do you see the truth in this, and how can we get to the next place that we need to get to? And of course he would use a woman to do that. If you take, so we have 2 letters in common in the word man and the word woman, Aleph and Shin, remember that. If you take the Yod out of man, and you take the Hey, I put Hey, it doesn't mean Hey. Hey? Out of woman, and you put the 2 of them together, you have the first 2 letters in the Hebrew name of God, Yahweh. Strength and wisdom. He didn't have to do that. Thank you, Lord. If you take those 2 letters without the Yod and the Hey, the first few letters in the name of Yahweh God, you have fire and destruction and consummation and danger. I love that. So what I wrote down is strength without wisdom and vitality leads to, if you think of a guy who's really strong but is not wise, what do you think of? A brute. A bully, we all know one. What?
Caveman.
Caveman. The guy who puffs up now in front of you, or like a real man that's coming. If you take bullying, brutality, a brute. If you take wisdom without strength, you're left with uselessness and dumbing. Why do we let ourselves go there, right? You need his strength and he needs your strength, and together you are a mirror image, the image of God. Together, not separate, together. A word about wisdom, and then we're going to have a prayer and a song and a break, I think. Quick break. If any of you lacks wisdom, what does God say to do? James 1:5. Ask God, right? Who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. I think in addition to my Tasha Glover quote, invite God in, I need to put ask for wisdom every step of the way. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Proverbs 9:10. We are to fear the Lord and revere the Lord. Wisdom works better when it's received, and we do have to ask for it. We do need to ask for it. So as you consider, take these home with you, please. As you consider these words of God, your affirmations are: you're a woman of authority, with vitality, full of passion and purpose, worth beholding. I will not stand silent and be ignored. Wise, insightful, full of perspective. Oh, there's the wisdom part. You are intimately his. You were created for a purpose. You are a first ruler. You are a completer. You are a revealer. You are a surrounder and protector. You are a helper, which doesn't mean just suitable. You are valuable. You're strong and wise. What was your greatest affirmation, and what action does that lead you to? We're going to let Kathy come up here and give us a 5-minute.
I have too many books.
MC. Yeah, you have to carry your stuff with you, so do I. And we're going to take a break. So on these breaks, you guys, this is a perfect time to walk outside if you need to. This is a perfect time to get a headshot, a professional headshot done. If you've seen my headshots, if you've seen some of Janie's headshots, this woman in the back of the room, Misty is responsible for that. I've never felt more comfortable being photographed in my life, and so much fun, right? And she does a really good job. So, your headshot is Misty. Anybody else? Testimony? Oh my word! Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Janie, you probably sent us all there. I don't know how you found her, Kelly. How did you find her?
2 years ago, she did mine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So she has a special deal. You'll find it in your magazine if you want to get a headshot done against one of these brick walls in here. I love this hotel. She knows how to do all of that, and maybe go outside and get your headshot done. Let me pray for us that we will be headshot.